Man, you talk about, and I know you talk about science and God.
Yeah,
right?
that's where I was gonna go next. Cause how I try to make that transition is essentially making the point that we don't know, what's gonna happen, if we allow X, Y, and Z. Because I think you were saying it before. We allow this to happen, and then 10 years from now, polygamy gonna be, available.
And we gotta be prepared for it.
Yeah, it's coming. Like you said, it's coming down the pipe. Because what argument are you gonna have against it? You got no argument.
What are you gonna say?
You got these two getting married. What's to stop them?
What are you gonna say?
And so because of this, we don't know the results of how this is going to affect us years later. We operate under pragmatism. So we were talking about this earlier. We are human. So what that mean? We limited in knowledge. We're not omniscient. We don't know. And it's like when we think about rules, we think about standards. We always think about it in a sense that it's preventing me from doing something, as opposed to it's there for my protection. We don't think about it that way. And so when we have, these standards or God's absolute truths, we look at them and we're like, but I'm going to do what I want to do.
Right.
And it's like, but you're not God. And the reason I've got these rules and set in place for you is to protect you. And so though we may not like that scripture says marriage between one man and one woman, that's done to protect you. Right. Now, don't listen to it. You done open Pandora's box. Now you're going to see what's going to happen.
Man.
Go ahead.
You talking about marriage. Man and woman.
Go ahead.
If you literally think through this, how you were created, how God made you, you can take a man's private part, a woman's private part, and automatically know that go together. Right? Because that's how God designed it to be. We seriously, and I wish people would just admit it, and stop saying, I was born like this, because I honestly disagree with that.
Okay.
I do. Now, I know some scholarly people are going to say, because of the Adamic fall.
Brent know his stuff.
The Adamic fall, we all are born
in sin.
Born in sin. And the original sin has you like this. Listen, brother, sister. Just say, I want to do
what I want to do.
What I want to do.
That's real.
I disagree with how God made me. I disagree with God's order. Therefore, I want to do my own thing.
That's real.
Just say it. Free yourself. It's okay. But the institution shall not be changed.
Yeah, because like you said, that argument, which, like you said, most people would theologically, but biologically, you're not. So that argument is kind of flawed because we only look at, like I said, we highlight the homosexual, but there's so many other sexual immoralities.
Oh, man.
What excuse do you have for the pedophile? The pedophile says the same thing.
That's the sickest person.
He says the same thing. I was born this way. So how can he be held culpable? Y'all using the same argument. It hurt. Because I know y'all don't want to hear it, but let's keep it real.
It's so real. The pedophile is in the system. Can't even get certain jobs.
Yeah, registered.
He is registered in the system, or she is registered in the system. So if you want to talk about same-sex marriage, it's nowhere near that. Well, we don't look at it that way, right?
I guess the argument would be they don't have consent, but then
there it is.
Then what's consent? Because you a 15-year-old and I'm 19.
Here's the deal: you're gonna keep making excuses. You're gonna keep saying what you want to say, and here comes another excuse and another. That's the silliness of man, because we don't know what we're doing. We don't.
Yeah.
And it's all because you want to do what you want to do.
Yeah. And so, going based off this concept of men are limited in their knowledge, they're not omniscient, they don't know all things. It brings me to this point about the third thing that we have disagreements on, this idea of, is there a God? And so essentially the point, or we have this tension between religion and science. And when we come from a worldview that says there is no absolute authority, there is no God, the Bible is false, then what? What do I rely upon as my standard of truth? And I think for most, their standard of truth would be science. That as I observe nature and I can see the things that nature tells me, I can formulate a worldview that through science I can deny God's existence and say that the earth is billions of years old and that we've evolved from an ape-like creature to a man. And my question would be, did you see it happen? You know? And so when we talk about science, I love science. Science is a good thing. But science is what? Observable. It is what? Repeatable. It is what? Measured. It is tested. We cannot recreate the universe. So therefore, you cannot say with certainty that it did not come into the existence by a creator.
Man, let me say one of the most ingenious things I heard in my life.
Go ahead.
When it comes to science. Frank Turek.
I know that guy. Yeah, apologist.
Says this and it's brilliant. Science doesn't come up with the facts. Scientists do. Science doesn't point to anything.
Yeah.
Scientists do.
Yeah.
Who are the scientists? The people.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we're dealing with someone who is flawed.
Yeah, science don't talk to you.
Science doesn't talk.
It don't talk. You put all your trust in this person's interpretation of what they see. They could be wrong. You basing that whole thing, it could be wrong. It don't care about you. Nature ain't concerned about your well-being. Nature don't seek to communicate with you at all. But yet you put all this trust in that which is impersonal. And so what I go from saying from that is like, okay, this tension between God and science, which I don't believe there is any tension, because I think science is ordered. Science comes from God. I exalt science. I love science. Science is a good thing, you know? And so when that's our worldview, when it's sitting on science, we have these disagreements because what? Who's right? Who's wrong? Does science tell us? Because if we really want to go that route, which you just said, if we want to say, and this is the inconsistency, science would actually affirm marriage between man and a woman. That's science. Science would affirm that. But yet we don't argue scientifically, we argue emotionally and say, what? I love this person. I love this person. Yeah. But scientifically, it would say what? Now, I guess someone would argue and say that just sexuality is for just pleasure. I guess they could go that route, which, yes, it's true, but it's also for procreation.
Right.
You know, because if you ain't got a man and a woman, man stops.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, just think, how did you arrive here? But man and a woman. But somehow you want to disrupt that created order, like you said, to do what you want to do, and just call it that.
Or
just call it that.
Or be man with man, woman with woman. That's your taste. That's your forte. Okay. But if you're gonna be that, be out of the whole entire order.
Yeah.
Don't be woman with woman and still want children. Or man with man and want children. Yeah. Or you want to be a family union. Come on, man.
But when you come from the scientific worldview, I can determine my truth.
Your truth.
And so I argue that, hey, this tension between God and science, and I try to look at things from a scientific worldview. Look at the results that happen. Look at what happens when you come from this worldview, as opposed when you come correctly interpreting scripture, it kind of answers all our major problems.